No, I believe it.
Hello, and welcome to Dorks on Sports, a podcast about four dorks talking about sports. My name is Daniel. Joining me, as always, is Curtis Eastwood. Curtis, how's it going over there?
Good. I got it all right here.
You got no. If you're for the podcast listeners, head over to YouTube. You can see Curtis's cat. I also have my cat Penny. There's my cat. So if you want to see some kitties, head over to the YouTube channel and you can see our cat guests.
Hi, Earl. I'm your biggest fan.
Millie, how you doing over there?
I'm doing all right. Thanks so much for asking.
You're welcome. I know your fantasy teams have been in kind of a free fall, and that the fantasy seasons are ending pretty soon, right?
Yeah,
going into playoffs anyway.
Playoffs are coming soon. I think week 15 for most leagues.
Are you going to be playing in week 15?
Well, we'll see. It was a good week all around. I won all my games. Yeah. I won my match against my father, who is normally my kryptonite. So that was a big win for me.
That's a nice win.
I won in my Folger Shakespeare League, which felt bittersweet because it was the battle of Team 11, that's me, and Team 12, my good friend Phil, who I don't know if he's giving up, if he had a tough week. I meant to reach out, but three people who were out were in his lineup. So you can't feel too proud of yourself when you get that kind of win.
Phil, what's going on over there, buddy?
Right.
Are you depressed? Have you given up? We're worried.
Can
you reach out?
Email he was there for the Vegas draft, and he accidentally drafted his first pick and didn't tell us all that it was an accident. We would have gone back.
Oh no, Phil, what did he draft?
Oh, he drafted Travis Etienne in the first round.
Oof.
That's
a blunder. Yeah.
Why did he take that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel real bad for him. And I beat him and I'm not excited about it. So that's,
No, you know what, Millie, you earned it.
Oh, thanks.
Take that win. Yeah.
I think I did actually score like the 4th or 5th most points this week. So,
well, there you go.
All right.
Nice work. Good
job. There
job.
might be a tiny chance in that league, but probably not. And then in Guillotine League, where I finally decided to toot my own horn and let the rest of the league know that I had the top score for 4 weeks. I had the top score all season. Finally decided to tell them that, which of course means that I was 0.6 away from being eliminated this week.
Ooh.
This is what happens.
Like Icarus, you flew a little too close to the sun.
Oh, it was terrifying. The commissioner was like, "Did you check for stat corrections?" And I was like, all day long. It did not. Nothing changed. Thank you, fantasy gods. My hubris is gone.
Yeah.
We're done with that.
Allanah, welcome back. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Sorry, I missed last week.
How you doing over there? How's it going? How are things? How's life?
I want to say that playing basketball is great, but getting older and playing basketball is not as great.
It's really not.
Like my lower half is just like I think I've injured my big toe on my right foot, and like that is not a good feeling. Like every time I'm trying to push off, it's just like and then like my whole left knee is just like in a state. I got crappy ankles. Like there's a lot.
Can I tell you, I played flag football a few years ago, and the next day I felt like I was hit by a Mack truck.
Yeah, I get home at the end because I play basketball on every Wednesday night. We're recording on a Wednesday. And I get home sometimes and it's like, oh, don't touch me. I hurt.
Yeah, like lower yourself in the Epsom salt.
Yeah.
I did a turkey bowl on Turkey Day, and it took me Friday through Saturday, even like walking up that concourse at Lumen Field was freaking brutal.
Well,
Like my legs just like the next day, and I was fine after the game. I was just like going around the house, carving up turkey, doing all this stuff. Everything's fine, everything's great. And then the next day I get out of bed to go take a piss, brush my teeth, and I'm like walking like I'm 80 years old.
that's because the stairs going up to where we were sitting at Lumen Field was about 1.5 miles.
Yeah. We were up in the rafters.
You couldn't get any further than the rafters than where Curtis and I were. It was a great
$100.
view though.
$100 to watch that overtime live.
Oh, well, let's get into it. So the Raiders, the hapless Raiders, come to town. What I think they had won 3 games before they played us. And worst pass rush in the league, worst defense in the league. And they did whatever they wanted with the Seahawks. They ran all over the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks got their points. It ended up being a shootout. And it went into OT, where they won on an 86-yard run walk-off, which was about the most humiliating way Pete Carroll can lose a game. It looked exactly like that Tampa Bay game looked. Everything about that game looked. It was like an identical twin to that Tampa Bay game. They couldn't stop the run. It was just like 5-yard gash, 6-yard gash. They couldn't get they couldn't get off the field on 3rd down, and they couldn't establish the run. The run wasn't going anywhere. So where do we go from here? What is this team? Do we need to temper expectations? It seemed like the Seahawks had started to get their shit together a little bit. And then everything that they were doing at the beginning of the season that wasn't working has crept back in since that Tampa Bay game. So, Curtis, what's happening with this team?
I'm very tempered. I'm very tempered with this team. I feel like they've regressed back to the first month of the season on defense. There, Mike, I'm not a super defensive nutball, guru or anything like that, but I can recognize when a front is attacking and when it's doing more read and react sort of stuff. And in the first chunk of games in the season, there was a lot of sort of passive 2-gapping, sort of, holding arm's length with the defensive line, with the offensive linemen and the blockers, and not really penetrating and attacking the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And we were getting gashed big time, and it was pretty embarrassing. And what is my cat doing? My cat's doing weird shit. But either way, stop that. Yeah, he's probably tired of me saying this around the house. And then so there was this big shift, right, through this 4-game stretch. And they kind of went back to like an older style of football that was coached when they were doing the bear front for the last couple of years, and when they were doing more of the traditional 4-3 stuff under Dan Quinn, where they were really attacking the gaps and attacking the line of scrimmage. And they were taking basically they were taking their aggressions out at the gaps and making it more difficult for the blockers. And so they were able to stuff the run against, the team going in, the Giants that we all sort of feared, like, ooh, how are they going to stop Barkley? And what did they do? They stopped Barkley, right?
Yeah.
So they put pressure, and they stopped the quarterback, who everybody thought was coming around and was like the new hot thing. And so they've played great ball when they've been in attack mode. And then they played really lousy ball when they've been in more of a passive read and react mode. And what I've sort of seen for the last couple games, I feel, is more in that read and react sort of stuff, which is very common for the teams that run that 3-4 defense. That's a defense that historically is an easier defense to run against, because that's a defense that you sort of play if you're in a pass happy division. Because you can blitz a lot easier, you can disguise coverages, and you can make things a little bit more difficult on the quarterback in theory. But if a team decides that, like, okay, we're not going to play that way, we're just going to play, smash mouth with, a bunch of tight ends and a fullback, and we're just going to run it down the middle, like, the Tampa Bay Bucks did, and what the Raiders basically mimicked, that 3-4 stuff becomes very vulnerable. And so for me, I'm kind of like, let's go back to the stuff that stops the run, because this is what they're doing to us.
I mean, ironically, like in that 4-game stretch when we were doing that, we were also getting after the quarterback quite a bit, like that pass.
Yeah, because we were attacking. I mean, they were doing that, and they were. Yeah, I think they were just sort of the guys that they have. So the guys that they have on the defensive line are pretty good penetrating, are good quality, like penetrating defensive tackles. If you look at like Shelby Harris and Poona Ford and Quentin Jefferson, like those guys can get upfield pretty quickly, and they can beat blockers by penetrating the gaps. And then you've got these speed rushers that do pretty good, coming off the edges in a combination of that when you have them doing that. But if you have, I don't know, I just think there's too much paralysis by overanalysis with trying to make, a complicated thing for the quarterback. And they're just, I don't know.
Whatever it is like the opposite of what a Pete Carroll team looks like. And he looked pretty pissed coming off the field. I don't know if I've seen Pete Carroll look that disappointed. He's looked sad before when he's lost a game, like at this, especially that Super Bowl and stuff, but he looked disappointed in the team. Like he looked
if you think
disappointed
about it,
dad.
If you think about it really quickly, he's losing games in which he used to beat teams by.
Totally. He's getting,
and he made a switch at defensive coordinator last year, firing somebody who has been like a longtime close personal friend of his.
Yeah.
For the idea of this new style defense that they're bringing in. And the new style defense, when it's been playing through this stretch of bad games, has looked significantly worse than the defense that was run by his old pal, Ken Norton Jr. At least Ken Norton Jr.'s defenses could stop the run.
Right.
They were kind of, they were kind of shitty at the pass, defending the pass and a lot of phases, but they always sort of made a mid-season adjustment where they got better towards the end of the season defending the pass. And by the time we got into December, it all kind of connected up, and you're going like, oh shit, Seattle's got a good defense again.
And it looks like
scary thing right now, as it feels like, is like we're heading into December, and it's just like, oh my God, this whole experiment with the 3-4, it looks like it's on the verge of falling apart. And it's just like, so I can understand the coach being like, okay, this has got to stop. We got to fix this now.
Well, especially when they have a talented team. Like, I mean, I really do believe they have the pieces on that team to, knock on the door of contending. The other kind of concerning thing over the past 2 games is they haven't been able to get Walker going. He had some nice moments against the Raiders that, like, beast mode style 5-yard dragging a pile into the end zone was fun to watch. But I think he ended the game with like 29 yards, which is not great. Allanah, is that should we be concerned about that? Like, is that a trend, or is that just like a couple of bad games?
I think it's a couple of bad games. I mean, you got the rookie wall as being one part of it. He didn't come into the season expecting to be the lead horse. We've also not been really we've kind of got that Pete Carroll thing of not being super creative with our runs in terms, not in terms of like, I want a lot of jet sweeps or I want a lot of pitches or things like that, but running on first down, running on second down, passing on third down, and doing that kind of cadence throughout the game. And we still do that. And, you know, but we also come off of it like right away when there's a sign of trouble at times, because he only had 14 carries, right? Like,
yeah, it was weird.
Vegas committed to the run. They stuck with the run. Even though early in the game, there were maybe some 2 or 3 yard runs. It was mostly 4 to 6 yard runs and an 86-yard run. So like, are we a team that's committed to the run or not? So for me, when it comes to the question about the run game, it's an execution problem. And then because we don't execute, we change the scheme and then we go to the pass. Now, there are some other clumsy issues like that fumble that happened on a botched handoff, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, did anybody what was that about? Did they ever
said
say?
They said it was supposed to be that it was a designed it was going to be an intentional quarterback keeper. It was going to be a fake handoff, and it was going to be a keeper for Gino, but the exchange got I think the fault may have been more with Gino than it was with K9 on that, but it was like, I mean, both guys sort of copped to not, you know, executing it well enough, but I think it was maybe more on the quarterback, not being.
That was a weird one.
That was the exchange.
Yeah, so there were, you know, execution issues that later changed into scheme issues. Ultimately, like doing a called keeper that involves a fake handoff that could lead to a fumble. That's silly play calling, right? Like sometimes, especially when
I'll just interject and say that same play call worked really well with them previous. I mean, there were times with the quarterback keepers with the fake handoffs that Gino made a big play out of that too.
Sure,
so,
I mean that's fine.
Like I don't think the play call is terrible. It's just
I think what I was saying is that they adjusted their scheme based on their poor execution at the start of the game, and were left with a game plan that didn't have consistency and didn't stick together throughout the game. And so there wasn't an identity. We complained a little bit at the start of the year when they were not super strong that they didn't have an identity. And then Penny went down and our identity became K9, and then timely passing, smart passing from Gino, right? And so like when we found that for a while, it was working, and now K9's kind of hitting a little bit of a rookie wall, I would say. I think that the teams we're playing, I don't want to say they've caught up to Gino, but they're not surprised that Gino's good anymore. They just accept that he's good, and so they know how to play him.
They're respecting him.
Yeah, they're respecting him, and so like I think all of that factors into this. Now, am I worried that we lost to the Raiders? No. We lose to shitty teams all the time. And the Raiders have shown a lot of heart and a lot of fight in the past couple of games. They beat Denver twice. And I'm not saying Denver is good, but Denver has an elite defense. And Josh Jacobs, and the reason that the Seahawks were playing soft on Jacobs is because they have Devontae Adams. They have 2 all-world players on their team.
And Derek Carr is no slouch. I mean, he's a top 10 quarterback.
He's been a top 10 quarterback for a while. And so like all those factors come into play, and like you're going to lose a game every once in a while. And none of this, you know, I want to caveat all this with none of this is life and death for me. Like I don't have, and that's not to say that it is for Curtis, but you care more than I do. You honestly, like I care. When the Seahawks lose, I'm upset, but it doesn't impact my mood beyond that moment. And so like, I think that's a piece of it for me. And knowing that my expectations at the start of year didn't need to be tempered, because I was just in a position where I was like, hey, if they win some games, that'll be great. And now here we are, we're 6-4 what is 6-5, right?
6-5. We still have
6
a
and
winning
5.
record. Yeah.
And we still have some shitty teams on the schedule. I don't think we were playing down to Vegas. I think Vegas is largely underachieved this season.
Agreed.
In the same way that the Rams have, in the same way that the Broncos have. And so, like, catch a team like that with some all-world players at the wrong time, and they're going to run 86 yards down your throat to end the game, and it happens. And it was a very entertaining game.
It was a
So
entertaining
I was
game.
pleased.
And they were
that's
due
where I'm-
to win a game in Seattle. I mean, that was a ridiculous long.
Yeah, 1989
record.
or 1998 was it?
Yeah, I mean, eventually those records have to break. And
Yeah.
last season and this season, the reality is that the Vegas Raiders are a good team who often lose by a very small margin.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Are they a good team though?
I don't think
I think they're a team with talent. They're a team with talent, but
I'll say they're a talented team that they can catch any team in the league on a good day and beat them.
And they've got another shitty coach. Like, let's
Right.
As I said, I mean, I think we're a team with talent who likes each other more.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're a really good team right now, but we're a team with talent, and a lot of it's young talent. And to talk a little bit more about K9 and rookie status, you look back at when he was first breaking out, and there was a lot of really great reads behind the line, a little patience, a little footwork. And as he's gotten more attention and he is being asked to play this very large role, what I'm seeing is a lot more hesitation and a lot
I
more
see the same thing.
thinking and trying to
look for that
what he's
extra
supposed to
cut.
do instead of just
Sure.
acting on what he's supposed to do. And you
Agreed.
add that with a line that's kind of falling apart and maybe not always giving him what he needs in a moment, and you start to see that these losses behind the line because he can't break through, because he missed that split second window that he was catching earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And I would say on the defense piece as well that we're talking about, if you go back and listen to our pod, even as we started, we had a 4-game winning streak, which means we all got really excited. But the biggest thing we said after that second win was they finally realized that they were playing the wrong defense and that they need to play to the talents. We were talking about how they have these talented players on defense and we're not playing to their talents. We're forcing them to do things that aren't what they're best at. And then there was this shift and we were all celebrating like, oh, they figured it out. And I think you're right, Curtis. I think it was like, oh, they figured it out. So now we can get them to do these other things. And that wasn't the point. The point wasn't now we can get you to do what we want. The point was, this is your talent. Let's build on it.
Yeah. Let's lean into what's working. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like on the defensive side, I mean, I this is just my own sort of take on it. And I sort of feel like I'm pretty good over the years at sort of parsing what Pete Carroll says. I think he sort of sends messages out in press conferences at the same time, trying to be protective and not call anybody out.
Yeah.
But I think that he's not happy with how the defense is being coached right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He says things like, we need to go back to honoring the run. We need to be going back to getting inside pass rush. And the things that I'm noticing is what I was saying earlier, is like when they were wreaking havoc in that 4-game stretch where they were doing all kinds of stunts and they were just moving bodies and they were quick and they were just going and then that just sort of stopped, and I kind of feel like I just wonder if there's a little bit, of a headstrong nature with, the new coaches that they brought in and trying to do this sort of other style of defense that suits what they want to do on the back end, but they can't do the stuff on the back end if all these guys are doing this type of stuff. You know what I mean? And so there's this kind of
be a case of like, everybody's always said the real defensive coordinator of the Seahawks is Pete Carroll, right? The defense is kind of his baby and his identity. So you got Pete Carroll, and then you have Clint Hurt and Sean Desai. is there maybe a case of too many cooks in the kitchen?
Well, here's the thing: is I don't think that. I think it's been a huge speculation with fans and some of like the sports radio media people to say that like that it's it doesn't matter who's coordinating it. It's Pete Carroll's thing. I don't think that's true at all. And the reason why is I think people closer to the team, like Dave Wyman and stuff like that, have commented that like that it was the coordinators that were calling the shots, and Pete would just sort of like check in with them and was like, hey, what are we going to do on this thing and that thing and stuff like that. And it would only get to the point when the wheels would start to come off the carts on certain sort of aspects of the defense is when Pete would step in and try and fix things.
Which is what a coach should do.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like we're probably the main reason why I'm still not, the sky is falling on the defense necessarily is because I think we're approaching a point now where Pete's probably going to step in and going like, hey, I want it done this way and I want this and I want that sort of thing like that.
Yeah.
And that's
and there's talent there. And, I mean, we've talked about this on the pod, but win or lose, like this season, we're playing with house money. So, if we end up having a winning record and going to the playoffs and doing something, wow, that would be really cool. And, if we don't, we end up falling a little bit short and we get a higher draft pick, like that's kind of what maybe we were expecting a little bit with a young team. Whatever it is, they're super fun to watch every Sunday. So, I mean, there's always that. The games are.
I mean, at the end, I thought we were going to beat. I thought, when we were in overtime and we got the ball back.
I thought we were going to get that.
I was convinced we were going to win that game.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, where the fuck did that Raiders pass rush come from? Like, good God, they were all over Geno Smith. So they wanted it. So my hat's off to the Raiders. They won that game. So good job, Raiders. And and I don't know.
I will just say in closing of that game that the experience of walking out of that stadium
that sucked
with
the Raiders. There were so many Raiders fans there.
Dorks that decided to be like confrontational with Seahawks fans. Was just it reminded me of like how much it's just like, oh yeah, that's why I hated that team back when we were in the AFC West, was those freaking fans. Like I've gone to a lot of Seahawks games where we lost to the Rams and we've lost to the 49ers and we've lost to different, like I've felt that kind of suck. But that kind of sucked walking out of that stadium with somebody who's like trying to get into your face and scream at you about how your team sucks is just like, I'm like, God.
Yeah.
I want to end the conversation about that game with two things. One, nobody gets a point. We all called it wrong. We all called it so wrong.
Yeah, that was
nobody
terrible.
for me to give that point to. And I just want to mention that my little pocket locket still got his touchdown.
He did. I thought there were some great plays. There were some super fun plays on that offense. DK Metcalf had himself a game. I don't know what his stats were. I don't know if they would have been terrific, but he was all over the place and making like those tough plays. I thought Geno balled out. There was the interception and then like that little fumble. But again, I thought Geno played well.
DK had 11 for 90.
That's great. I thought he made really timely catches. I always love seeing the tight ends get involved. So that was fun. It was
Seattle's passing game was pretty strong.
Yeah,
I mean, even that interception was weirdly enough, Tyler and DK screwed that whole concept up by like running into each other on a deep scissor pattern. And
this is not the first time that has happened, and I want that play to go away.
Yeah.
This is not the first time. They're going to end up knocking one of them out. I'm done with that play.
Yeah,
Carroll was
Carroll, get
kind
rid
of
of it.
like,
I am done
Carroll
with
was kinda
talking
like,
about that
yeah, they
game, and we
screwed
need
it up,
to
but maybe
move
Gino shouldn't have thrown it anyways. It's just kinda like,
Well, so we got Rams next.
mm.
We sure do.
Yeah, we got the Rams next. The Rams haven't been doing
Suck!
well. Is Matt Stafford playing?
No.
No, so Matt Stafford's not playing, and then I think it was announced Aaron Donald's not playing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So wow. So two of their best players are out.
No Cooper Cup.
No Cooper Cup.
No
Woof.
Cooper Cup. No. Who's the other? They got the other starting. The guy that they traded for from the Bears last year.
Christian McCaffrey. He's not officially out, but he has not played this. He has not played in practice this week.
I don't think that's who you meant.
Oh no, that's 49ers.
It's not Keenan Allen. It's Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson. Yeah,
Allen
he's
Robinson.
done. They're pretty
He's
thin
out.
on offense, and they've taken away the best defensive player, but I feel like they'll probably still put up a good fight.
So I
They
just
haven't
saw-
really put up a good fight all season though. Like they've
Defensively,
been
they've been pretty good. but
That's fine, but
defensively,
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they spent all of their everything in order to win the Super Bowl last year. And
Mhm.
that's the reason you don't trade away all your fucking draft picks, is because at some point you're gonna need to draft younger players and you can't just trade everything. So I think we're seeing an ending to that particular style of GMing. Go ahead, Amelia. Sorry.
I just say I do have injury concern for the Seahawks actually, because today a number
Ryan
of
Mayo?
players did not practice due to illness. And while
Do they have a COVID bug going
I'm
around?
assuming this is a flu or something based on Damian Lewis, Travis Homer, Phil Haynes, and Al Woods all didn't practice today due to illness. And that sounds like a flu to me.
Mhm.
And while I expect they'll probably be fine on Sunday, problem with things like that kind of illness is they run rampant through a locker room.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So who's going to be sick by
concerned.
then?
I'm a little concerned that we're going to get all excited for this game. And then on
Man.
Sunday, it's going to be like, so Gino and DK and Tyler and K9 all have the flu.
Oh, so we get Drew Lock going against.
Right. So we'll be playing
Yeah.
on the Rams level.
Yeah. And this game is in LA, right?
Yeah.
We're on the road. Oh man, Allanah, how do you think this game is going to go?
I don't think the Rams put up a fight. I think that they're done. I think that they maybe score 10. I mean, who's their backup quarterback? I don't know.
Well, there's two different options that they can go through, and McVay's doing the whole like, oh, it could be this.
I don't know which one it's going to be.
Oh, we'll
So
see.
I
at
think-
halftime.
I think they'll score 10 and we'll score 24, and it'll be a 24-10 victory. There's no home field advantage in LA.
No.
The Rams sucked this year, and they don't have any offense. So, sorry, I had a
Bless you.
sneeze coming.
I got a fart. Ah, silent though.
Curtis, how's this game going to go?
I'm sort of lockstep with Allanah on this one. I don't think the Rams are gonna have much of a chance in this one. But I've been saying this all season long.
Yeah, I know.
I think this is the time where, you know what, they just got to tear that they got to let those pass rushers loose and just beat up on the Rams. I'm gonna say Seahawks win 24-13, something like that.
Millie, what do you think?
Hold on, I gotta write down 24-13 for Curtis. Yeah, normally I worry a lot about Rams games because even when they've been really, really bad, we've still managed to lose. But maybe that was just Russell Wilson. We'll see. And without Aaron Darnold, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do there. So I definitely do think that this is not a kryptonite game, and that there's just we really should not lose this game, barring illness, knock on wood. So I think I'm going to go 21-13.
Yeah, I keep thinking about this game, and I just don't see a scenario in which the Seahawks drop this one. Barring that defense not making any adjustments, but I have to imagine it's going to. I also kind of wonder if against the Raiders there was a little bit of that, bye hangover, since it is such a young team. I think they're going to be a little more focused. They're going to have their head in the game. No Aaron Donald means I think Geno's going to be able to sling it. And the Rams are missing all their offensive weapons. I think it's going to be like 34-13. I mean, I think it's going to be a giant blowout. I think the Seahawks assert their dominance over the Rams. And the NFC West has now gone to the Seahawks and the Niners. I think the Rams are out. And I think Seahawks and Niners are on the rise. And for the next few years, it's going to be a rivalry again.
Lord willing and the creek don't rise.
Yeah, I think we're hopefully going to score like it's a Kraken game.
Wow, man, you want to talk about some Kraken?
You like that transition?
Kraken. The Kraken, their last game, the Kraken put up some football points. That's what the Kraken have been doing.
So if it would have been like touchdown points, that would have been a score of like 96 to like 84 or something like that. Is that how that would have went?
It would have been like it would have been like 52-50 kind of a thing.
Something, yeah.
It was funny because the Kraken social media team is really good, and in that final score in OT, the Kraken were like, "We get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion," because they won by 9 points. The Kraken have been scoring all over the place. The Kraken in November, they won 10 games, they lost one outright, and then they lost one in overtime. So out of 12 games, they came away with points in all but one of them. That's really good. They are hot on the heels of the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights have played 2 more games than them and have only 4 more points than them, which means the Kraken are right on pace. The Kraken.
Can I just interject real fast and say how much I hate Vegas teams? The freaking Raiders came up here and freaking beat us. I paid good money to watch Sue Bird in her final freaking game series get fucking beat by the Vegas Aces.
Well, you know what? The Kraken played Vegas last week and they beat them. Good. So take that, Vegas.
Good.
The Kraken are coming to play. The Kraken have the 5th best record in the league. And they ain't slowing down. They're on a 6-game win streak. That's the winningest team in the NHL right now. And they're doing it. This is the exciting thing I think about the Kraken. They're doing it a million ways, which means they're playing playoff hockey. They're beating teams in low scoring games. They're beating teams in overtime thrillers. They're beating teams in high scoring shootouts, and they're beating teams by just dominating them by like 5-1. They're scoring points in all quarters, and they're scoring points with all 4 of their lines. Matty Beniers just keeps getting better. And the Burakovsky, who's like the big free agent they brought in this season, he's leading the team in points right now. So like everything that they worked for this season is happening. And I think it's just really exciting. And except for like the last few games, goaltending has been pretty good. They have the 5th best offense, or the 5th best offense in the league. It's just it's a fun time to be a Kraken fan.
It is a fun time to be a Kraken fan. I just went to a game last week, and I just want to talk a little bit about the fan experience because I went to
who were they playing? What was the game?
Oh,
Do you remember?
yeah, it was the Sharks. It's the one
Uh-huh.
where we scored 8-5. in the
Yeah.
end. I don't know.
Yeah.
I sent you all pictures. I'm trying to remember exactly what the score was. But no, it was a huge blowout. It was until 2 days ago, it was the most we'd ever scored in a game.
Yeah, and then we scored 9.
And then we scored
I know.
9.
Yeah.
But as someone who went to a few games last season, and this was our first game this season, the fan experience, for the most part, is improved. A lot of really neat additions. They've changed the opening, for better or for worse. I kind of enjoyed the old one, but the new one's a lot of fun. And the mascot buoy is a great addition. We now have somebody who's getting the crowd into it, got the flag, leading some stuff. That's always a good thing. And they had bands last year, but this year every single game has a band, a local band.
Oh, cool.
That performs during the breaks. And what was the one other thing? Oh, and the music just in general is better across the board, but they've also added a live organ player. So there's just a lot of stuff. And of course, because it's one of my favorite things in the world, it just so happened, this was not planned because they didn't announce the giveaways in advance. It was the very first ever Kraken bobblehead night. So here is my Yanni Gord.
The Yanni Gord bobblehead. Man, that's a collector's item.
It sure is. And look at
this. Is
this.
that the fish? Is that what he's holding?
Yeah, so he's holding the salmon, which for folks who don't know it, when we win at the end of the game, they throw a stuffed salmon into the crowd for somebody to catch. He's got a cute little visor shield over his face that you can't see very well. Hold on, let me put it in front of mine. There it is. It's kind of shiny. Anyway, I love bobbleheads and I love little Yanni Gord, and I'm very excited that we got those. And shout out to the Krakens making sure that there was one for every fan. None of this first 10,000 bullshit.
That's the way it should be. Yeah, I agree.
Well,
That's
especially because you
awesome.
always see it like the baseball games, some asshole with 20, and you're like,
I know.
Really?
Yeah. Drives me crazy. That's awesome. I like Yanni Gord. Yanni Gord this season, he's got some swag. He's out there chirping. He's picking fights. I like him. Yeah. He's got some swag going.
History too.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Here's the thing I like about the Kraken is watching the post-game stuff, because you always watch like the Seahawks after a win and it's a party and the music is bumping and everybody's like, their shirts off and they're cheering and Pete Carroll's getting them fired up. And then the Kraken, they're all just kind of like sitting around in the locker room with their beers. And Haxtell, they're all Canadian. Haxtell just kind of goes around and he goes, yeah, well, that was a really good game, eh? It feels good to win. Yeah, you did some good stuff. Gordo over there, he played a good game. Good job. And I just like that. I like that. But Curtis, you went to a game last week.
Oh
2
my
weeks
God,
ago?
it was so much fun. Yeah, no, I the whole NHL experience for me ramps up 100 times over when I'm there live than when I'm watching, my pirated copy off my computer, because I don't have the root.
Because you don't have Root Sports.
Yeah, and I'm always nervous of viruses and stuff like that, so I don't always do that. If I give my wife's computer a virus, she'll never talk to me again. So it's like, it's either like I listen to it on the radio, and that's no fun and games and stuff like that. I guess I'm
Not
just
on hockey. Yeah,
I just wish they weren't on Root. Like I just kind of
can we get rid of Root?
I mean, it's Climate Pledge Arena. Can we just put them on Amazon Prime for crying out loud?
This is what I'm saying.
It's just like,
Let me watch my game on ESPN Plus. For the
There's
love
something.
of Christ.
Yes. I mean, I love the Kraken. They are quickly becoming, maybe my second favorite. I mean, it's hard to say between, because I still have deep love for the Storm and everything like that. But I am definitely more engaged as a spectator with hockey than I am baseball. I just like, I like the chaos and the violence and all that sort of shit. It's fun for me, and it's fun live. And it was fun when they were playing. Who did they play? They played the Kings, and it went into overtime. And I was right there on my side when.
Oh, that's when Ebsy got the overtime goal.
And he just took off down the side of the rink and went right to the goalie and smacked it right in there, and it was beautiful. And it's just I love the. It just feels like there's pageantry sort of involved with it, but that's also like with all the pop culture and the music and the, I can see myself going to like multiple games, maybe, buying like blocks of tickets and stuff like that if they're available someday. I could see my kid actually like really digging hockey. Like, I just think, I think my kid's kind of a physical kind of kid that likes to smash into things and shit like that.
Throw him up there.
Yeah.
Put him on the ice.
We're actually talking about like getting him, up there at that, that practice rink and like,
at the former Northgate Mall. Yeah. We should all go to a Kraken game. I think that'd be fun.
Absolutely.
I love the pageantry of the NHL. It's operatic to me. I think it's just so over the top in all the ways that I love. I'm having a lot of fun. Another team I had fun with this season was the UW Huskies, who kind of, I don't know. I love the hire of the coach, DeBoer. Curtis, you and I had talked about that. And I didn't have necessarily high expectations. And they absolutely blew me away this season, 9-2. And if USC beats Utah in the Pac-12 title, then the Huskies will be going to the Rose Bowl. And that's
so who's got to win that game?
USC, because if USC wins the Pac-12 title, they'll be going into the
playoffs. So we'll be going to the Rose Bowl.
So then we'd be going to the Rose Bowl because we would have the better ranking. Honestly, the Huskies should be playing in the Pac-12 title over Utah, but the Pac-12 tiebreakers are dumb. But man, that team was really fun to watch. That Apple Cup was spectacular. And the man who made that, I mean, the whole season, Michael Penix Jr., which arguably put his stamp on this season as the best college quarterback,
statistically
in 2022. Yeah. There's a question on whether he is going to come back because he'll be a senior next year. So he could return and have another go with the UW Huskies, or he could declare for the draft. I'd love to see him back, but I understand why he would declare for the draft. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to be chosen in the first round. It's probably more realistic that he'd be going like the second or third, but
he's got an injury history. He's like when he was in Indiana, each of the seasons that he played there, he came down with a significant injuries, and that makes me think that will make pro GMs nervous about potentially, like, I don't like if he goes round one, I think it's in the second half of round one where maybe the team trades back into the first round to grab him if they really like him, but like I think he's more likely. It might be in his best interest to go back.
I think so too.
And do it again, and then like really solidify the potential of him being a top 5 pick next year.
Look, if he's got an injury history and he has had what is an outlier of a season, then he needs to go to the draft because that's how he's going to make his money. And he, like I hear what you're saying. Like he can maybe improve his stock even more, but like if he goes in the back half of the draft, he's going to end up on a competent team as opposed to a team like the Jets, who will ruin a quarterback. The Jets will have a medium pick, but like he won't end up on Houston, right?
Right.
He'll end up with like I don't know, for example, Tampa. Yeah, exactly. And
he's from
Atlanta.
Or Atlanta.
He could end up on
New
the
Orleans. He could end up. So like this is the only contribution I have about college football because I think it's terrible overall. But just like if you have the opportunity to get out, get out. Because you don't want to injure yourself.
You're aware that college players make money now off of him.
I am aware of that. Yeah.
They're often paid.
And I'm also, I mean, that's not my only beef with college football. The number one public employee in every single state, except for one, is a college football coach or college basketball coach. And that's ludicrous. That is like the fact that these people who are grooming children in a way are making this much money is ludicrous. So like, and we give them too much power. So that's one of my problems with college football. It's also, I'm not a person who likes to watch the game because of the passion of the people playing. I'm a person who likes to watch the game played competently. And there's so much garbage play, especially in college basketball, but also in college football, where it's like, God, this is dull. And then in college football, the games last like 45 minutes to an hour longer than pro football games. And it's just
it's because
and it's all commercials. It's all, and also the clock stops.
That's the one thing I wish they would change in the college game is because the clock stops every time there's a first down. And I wish they would just let the play clock go like the NFL, because it does end up being like 4 hours. And it's like, geez, man, like this game started at 7:30 and it's like midnight now.
But
if it's meant to be a regional
fan of the college team, like,
yeah, that by all means.
I'm sort of a, I'm kind of a casual Husky fan, casual fan of college football altogether. I watch college football because it's the farm system for the NFL. So I'm always interested on like what the talent is coming up from college that I'm going to be seeing on Sunday. So that's the reason.
And I'll tell you what I don't do either is I don't watch Tacoma Rainiers or Everett Aqua Sox games.
Sure.
So like if I want to watch sports, I want to see it played competently. That's why I like watching the WNBA. That's why I like watching like the World Cup. That's why I like watching all these things where it's the top athletes at the peak of their form who are also playing for passion.
Yeah. Well, I think Michael Penix Jr. does play that game competently, and I like him. I totally get why he would declare for the draft. And if I was his manager, that's probably what I would be advising him to do for exactly what you said, Allanah, which is like, if this is his outlier season where he hasn't been injured, maybe let's declare for the draft now instead of risking getting injured next season. But as a fan of the Washington Huskies who just wants to see more Michael Penix Jr. and Kalen DeBoer make another run at it, I'd love to see him back in the purple. Yeah. He was just super fun to watch. Great story. I think he's NFL ready. The way he plays that game and the mastery he has of that offense. He was only sacked 5 times because he was able to distribute the ball that quickly. I mean, Pete Carroll, John Schneider, if you're listening, I think.
John Schneider was there at the sidelines.
Oh, he better be, because that Michael Penix Jr. fits that Shane Waldron offense to a T.
Yeah.
Um,
I am on the record of not preferring Seattle to draft a quarterback at least early next. Like I say go with the hot hand that they got right now. Keep Geno, keep him around for multi-years. But if they do go quarterback, and I've watched a lot of the different ones that are being really hyped up right now. I think I think Penix is a better passer than some of the guys that they're saying, like the guy from Ohio State. And, I just there's something about Penix. He's very smooth,
Yeah, I agree. And he's got that toughness and he's got that story that the Pete Carroll likes.
And he's got that dog in him.
And he's got that dog in him. How about that World Cup? That was a thriller for USA.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say when Pulisic, I watched the whole game while I was working, and when Pulisic put that goal in, he went down, and I was like, "Oh, he has an exploded testicle." Like just the way that things happened, it like that was the injury that I'm pretty. And he says he's coming back, and he's got like a groin contusion.
Is that what is that technically what it is? Officially, it's a groin contusion.
Yeah, and I mean, we
I
know
heard
from
like abdominal injury. And I was like, is it
was an abdominal contusion.
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with the Mitch Haniger here, right? Like,
yes, yeah.
And if he's gonna play with that situation, like that's meaningful. That's meaningful.
Dude, totally.
So
can you imagine the cortisone shot right there? Like.
Yeah, that's not the best. I love the World Cup. I love the concept of the World Cup. It slots very cleanly in line with the Olympics for me. I love the fact that you get soccer at whatever hour of the day, every day of the week, and you can watch it and engage with it. I love the fact that on Saturday I'm going to get up at 6 so I can watch that game. And then I'm going to go play basketball afterwards. I love that we're playing Netherlands because like I have had long fascination with that soccer team. It's part of the reason why my favorite color is orange. It's going to be a really fun game in that regard. So there's a whole lot that I love about the World Cup. Unfortunately, this year's World Cup is in Qatar, and Qatar is not a democracy, and Qatar does not allow for any sort of political dissidence. And so when somebody comes into the stadium wearing a rainbow armband, he gets kicked out and fears for his life because the Qatari government is vehemently standing in the way of any sort of protest that is in support of queer identities. And the problem is that when you go to a place like Qatar, when you go to a place like, unfortunately, South Africa, that have these longer histories of managing things poorly, let's say, then you have to navigate the moral quandary of like, can I watch and support this event without being able to do anything about the things that are happening? Because it's not just, public resistance and dissidence. It's the fact that they brought in migrant workers primarily from India, put them to work in 150-degree heat, building these stadiums that frankly they should have had when they won the bid for the World Cup. There's a really great John Oliver piece that's all about the Qatari experience in bringing these games in. And there's just so many issues that are at play, and it's so transparently obvious that FIFA and the people who voted on where it was going to be took the bribe. Qatar paid each individual voter $1 million to vote for Qatar. And like they did, and that's how that whole system works. All that said, those American boys are playing some solid soccer. They should have beaten England. They just didn't get that goal. Tyler Adams is fucking amazing. And I encourage you to go find him being asked a question from an Iranian journalist who calls him out for saying Iran incorrectly, and then asks how he can justify playing for a country that has racial disharmony in a way to try and kind of show what the Iranian people are going through right now with regard to everything that's happening there. And his answer was, "I'm sorry I mispronounced your country. Thank you for correcting me on that." And then he went off into how his particular experience as the child of white parents, a black child of white parents, has impacted his life and experience. And it's tremendous.
It's a really beautiful interview response.
Yeah.
And that whole team, there's a number of players, and I don't know their names as well as I wish I did, but there are a number of players on that team who are just, to me, the things that can get you excited about the US men's team that has not been true.
Yeah.
For a long time. There's a really great group of men on this team, and their heads are in the right places, and they truly are playing for their country or chosen country in a couple of circumstances. That is really inspiring. And if you don't normally watch the World Cup and it's maybe not your thing, I would urge you to watch the game on Saturday. And if through some miracle we were to win, you better watch them the whole rest of the way.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like you're talking to me.
We're going against a juggernaut, like are not supposed to win. We could easily go down 5-0, but it's the heart and the way that they're playing is exciting and beautiful. And I'm sorry I haven't been able to watch more games. I got to watch the England game, which was great. And I have more thoughts, but Allanah, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just wanted to say one other thing is, if you go and watch some footage from the end of that Iran game, after they won, and like almost to a man, the United States players were finding Iranian players, hugging them, praying with them, comforting them, saying things like, "We have a brotherhood, even though we're from different countries and different places and we think different things, and that brotherhood is on the pitch." I mean, there are beautiful pictures. I'm looking at one right now of Josh Sargent and DeAndre Yedlin, who's a Sounders player, holding an Iranian player on the ground who is clearly weeping. And it's like that level of sportsmanship that's being demonstrated. Who also, it's like, I should say, Japan is making waves for that too. They clean up after themselves after the games. They clean out the locker room and then leave origami for the next team.
I love that.
And then all the you would love this, Curtis. All of the fans, the Japanese fans, come armed with plastic bags and they clean up the stadium after the game. And like that is part of their honor culture in terms of engaging with sport. So
clearly not Raiders fans.
Clearly not Raiders fans. So there's a lot of beauty in this game and a lot of beauty in these young men who are putting their testicles out there for consumption and destruction and for country.
Thank you,
ahead,
US
Millie.
players, for putting your testicles on the line for the honor of winning a World Cup.
And I think Millie had a story she wanted to share about her appreciation of the World Cup.
Well, I do. We're short on time, so I don't know if I will tell that whole story. All I can say is that I was not a huge soccer fan when I moved here, just like most of the sports we talk about. It was the 2006 World Cup in Germany was the first time I watched the World Cup. I didn't know anything about it. And that's what got me hooked. And there's a much longer story about, God, this is probably how I got into fantasy football, basically about winning a whole bunch of bets through T-Mobile on my phone. And I won a prize. So, I had this great duffel bag from the 2006 World Cup. It's really cool. Anyhoozle, what I wanted to say too is, I also urge everyone to understand the background of why this is such a contentious World Cup and what's going on in Qatar. It is disgusting hundreds and hundreds of migrants died building stadiums for a sporting event, that you should already have the infrastructure for the most part to do when you are granted this gift. The World Cup is coming here next, but as part of CONCACAF, it's it's in Canada, it's in the US, it's in Mexico. It's going to be a really interesting split of how they're doing it here. I look forward to that. The one thing I will say was sort of the moral conundrum of how do you watch and support this? Because it's very difficult. On the one hand, we're pouring all our money into it, and the financial support is if you follow the money, it gets really gross.
Oh, FIFA is
feel like-
This is what I've heard about FIFA for a number of years.
Right.
is
I mean, they
what a
got
dirty way
rid
they
of
deal with money.
everyone because
Yeah.
they were also corrupt, right? These
Mhm.
people are no longer in charge, but new people are, and half of them are probably corrupt already. For me, that moral question gets pushed aside when you see the attention that it also brings to a lot of these issues. There have been there's a lot of coverage of how Qatar has handled people coming into stadiums who have those rainbow armbands, people trying to come into the country who had a rainbow flag in their luggage, that there are members of the press who have been detained, but it's all coming to light because of the national spotlight. The idea, especially for
This time, I just want to add, this time it's happening. It didn't happen in the same way for a lot of the Olympics and a lot of prior experiences. But go ahead. Sorry.
These people, like my brain always goes sideways because it's not Iran. It's
Iran. It's
Iran.
not Iran.
It's not Iran. It's Iran. Woof.
Or it's not Iran.
I always said it right, and then I got really confused. But anyway, these men did some silent protesting, which they got in big trouble for. There were a number of fans in the stands who made clear that they are protesting, that they are supporting the uprisings that are happening in that country. They risk life and limb doing it. Some of these players are going to go home and they are going to be in trouble. But they also had a platform in which to bring attention. And that's where, for me, I can move to the morality of it isn't.
Oh
no, we lost Millie.
We lost Millie.
No!
Oh,
No!
no. There she is. Oh,
There she
we got
is.
her back. Oh, she's
I can
back.
still hear you. Oh, good. Yeah, the countries that we don't know a lot about, struggles we don't know a lot about. And yes, my internet connection is unstable. So I will end it there. But I watch the World Cup. It's inspiring.
That's awesome. Super fun. Yeah. And the US is in the 16, right? The top 16.
I'm going to say one more quick thing. The U.S. women's national team gets a cut of the winnings that the men are winning because of an agreement that they laid out. They are now paid equal footing with the U.S. men's national team.
That's amazing. NBA.
And it's a split.
Take note. Yeah, that's awesome. Should we get into dorking? You want to dork out about some things? Can I start? I was watching right before we started recording. The new season of Rami is out on Hulu. Have any of you watched Rami?
I saw 1.5 seasons, and then we just lost track.
Yeah. I was a big fan of it. So Rami, I think their second season concluded in 2020. It's been a while since it's been on. That was one of my lockdown era pandemic shows. I just fell in love with it. I thought it was incredible, and the third season is just as good, if not better. Rami is written by a comedian also named Rami, who is Muslim. He's first generation Egyptian. His family, his parents are from Egypt, and he grew up in the United States. And the TV show is about his struggles with his identity, being, like a traditional Muslim in America, being an American with expectations from his Egyptian parents. So he's kind of being pulled apart culturally in a million different ways that he just can't reconcile with himself. And it kind of breaks him a little bit. And Rami doesn't know who he is and ends up making a lot of poor decisions because of it. And in kind of honest ways. And while the show can veer off into some more absurdist elements, not nearly to the level of Atlanta does, but flirting with it, it really grounds itself in a very real reality. And what I appreciate about it is you can feel you can feel that Rami went through that himself in real life. And I think it's really great. I think it's hilarious, but also very poignant and at times extremely hard to watch, just because you're watching him on a train going off a cliff, and you're like, Rami, don't do it. Don't do it. It's really great. I just recommend everybody watch it. It's on Hulu. That's what I got. Millie, what do you got?
Well, I kind of got two things. I'll try to go quick. The first is, I can't remember if it was you, Allanah, that brought up Avenue 5 not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I was like, all right, I got to revisit this show, because I feel like I kind of liked it. I know I only watched, I think maybe the first 3 episodes tops, maybe only 2. And it didn't quite grab the hubs and my humor. It just wasn't right for me. And I just have to say, sometimes your tastes and your humor change, your perspective changes. And I now think it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun. I don't have a lot of comedies, so it's really nice to have a comedy. It's so ridiculous.
It's so stupid. It's the other really good stupid TV show. They're so dumb.
Stupid
What we
like
do in the shadows.
Okay, it's stupid like What We Do in the Shadows. Stupid. Yeah,
But
excellent.
Well,
Go ahead.
What it reminds me of is Space Force, as far as the humor. For
Okay.
me, that's where it landed. In this sort of ridiculous, these people don't have these jobs, like, oh my god, these people are caricatures, but at the same time they're not, and these circumstances are ridiculous, and yet you could totally see people behaving this way. So it's just a lot of fun. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just, and the poop jokes. I mean, come on, Curtis, there's poop jokes.
Who doesn't love a good poop joke?
Oh my
Daniel,
God.
it's
Running poop deal in this.
Yeah.
My household is all about poop jokes.
it's Armando Iannucci, Daniel. So there's some
Oh,
really, really creative cursing.
excellent. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I was trying to see if anybody else had seen, because it probably requires conversation. No spoilers, but 1899. I kind of just kept wanting to quit it, but I couldn't.
Is
did
that
really
the one that's like a prequel to
No,
no.
Oh,
it's
But
not related to Yellowstone.
Yellowstone?
No.
Yeah.
It's from the people who brought you Dork.
It's
Okay.
So if you liked Dark, you should try it. If you don't know what Dark is, you can try it. It's complicated and multi-layered, but God, it frustrated the heck out of me. And I kind of wanted to know, and I kind of didn't care, but I pushed through and saw the whole thing. And I'm kind of curious about what happens next. Supposedly there's like a 3-year plan with this plot, so we'll see. I don't know if I can actually recommend it, but if you like Dark, if you like kind of weird German stuff, you could go there.
My mom was weird German stuff.
That's I like it. So Millie is kind of into it, and if you like weird German stuff, give it a shot. That's our recommendation
weird
for
German
that
stuff.
for 1899. Weird German stuff, and Millie's not sure about it. That's our recommendation. Is that what you got?
Yeah,
Curtis,
that's
what do you got?
Kind of in the same sort of realm as Millie about like starting something and going like, God, this isn't my thing at all, and then like going back to it and being blown away. The season finale of Andor just blew my doors off the other night when I watched it. It's a very, I don't know if any of the four of you like powered through this show yet.
I haven't
Not
seen it
yet.
yet.
Yeah, it's got episodes that are really, really great and that really grab you, and then there's other ones where it's like, come on, let's go, let's move the story along, but like the build up for like where it goes to with like the last 3 episodes, including the finale, which has a terrific sort of conclusion to it, but also a cliffhanger for season 2. And thank God there's going to be a season 2 of this. Is some of the best television I think I've seen all year. And this actually might be like my favorite watch. In
Really?
terms of all the shows I've been watching.
So
Yeah, like it really, like these last few episodes, just like, holy shit, this is really great. Like this, it is so beyond. Like I'm a Star Wars dork. I have been since I was like 7 years old, but like this is beyond Star Wars. This is like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of it's pretty cool shit.
I will say, I think, and you pushed along a lot further. We had only watched the first 2 episodes, and it was like, Andor.
Yeah, I was there. I was in that.
We were so excited. We pushed through, and now it's like, want to watch Andor?
Yeah.
We're catching up quick.
Yeah, I'm excited that they're going into a second season of it. And then the other thing is I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday.
That was very fun.
It was everything I just needed it to be. It was, I mean, everything that you would think of what that title suggests is in that. It's in a true Guardian sort of style and manner, and I just I will probably that will be a thing that I will probably revisit time and time again. In fact, I sort of felt like after I watched it, it was just like, now shit, I kind of feel like I want to sort of go back and watch volume 1, volume 2, and then some of the, the Avenger films at the end that they appeared in to tie it all into sort of that sort of thing like that. Just because, I mean, it's my favorite Marvel franchise. Like I'm a landscaper. My business name is Gardens of the Galaxy. I just I go by the moniker out there in the landscaping world, Yard Lord. My co-worker is
that a given name?
Is that a given name?
Yard Lord, is that your given name?
No, my given name is Curtis.
Sorry, it was a stupid joke.
Oh.
I was really surprised because at first I was like, oh boy, here we go. When I started it, and by the end I was like, whoa, that was tight. Like they wrapped up a lot of stuff. I was like, how are they even going to get back to all of this other stuff? And how are we going to wrap this up in a good way? And it's just stellar. Like I really kudos to the writers, because the way that all wraps up is beautiful. And Kevin Bacon is a gift we don't deserve.
And the ripping that they do on Kevin Bacon is phenomenal. And it's like, I mean, I'm a huge Kevin Bacon fan, but like, I just like, it's everything that you would think that would be in a Guardians of the Galaxy Hollywood holiday Hollywood.
There you go. Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Check it out. Allanah, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm gonna rapid fire a little bit. White Lotus season 2 is a gift. It's better than season 1. I just heard a theory about it that I am so geeked out about, but none of you are watching it. So like wouldn't make any sense for me to share. But just I'm going to put the word cousins into the atmosphere. Those who watch it will know what I'm talking about. Or sorry, nephew, uncle relationship rather. So there's that. Then there is Fleischman is in Trouble, which I'm delighted by, and it's made for our generation. Generally, I know y'all are a little bit older than me, but I think it fits really well. I'm enjoying the shit out of that. Sex Lives of College Girls second season is on. They filmed a lot of it at UW, and it's just like Sex in the City but younger. I didn't like watch Sex in the City or anything, but it's an interesting examination of current era college politics and things like that, and I like it. Abbott Elementary is exceptional. Ghosts is exceptional. That's my TV. For movies, I went and saw Glass Onion. It's phenomenal. It's better than Knives Out. And it does the thing that, and this is not a spoiler, but it does the thing that really good mysteries do, where at the start of the movie, it introduces you to a concept or an object or a relationship or a person, and doesn't pay a lot of attention to it. It's just kind of in there for a moment, or a way that, like in the first one, how she vomits when she lies, like that type of thing. And then later in the movie, about 10 seconds before a big reveal happens, you're like, oh wait, what about this thing? And then that thing's brought up again, and it's like, oh shit. But you're not figuring that out 20 minutes before it happens. You're figuring it out just before it happens. So you get that like, I figured it out, and then it delivers, and you're like, oh my God, I was right. But you were only right for 10 seconds, and you're only right because they wanted you to be right. And in that way, it's so brilliantly written, wonderfully performed, great story, loved it. High recommend. My kid loved it too. So, and it's the type of thing that she could get into. Second, I think I mentioned Tar. If I didn't, you should see Tar. Third, Vengeance, which is a movie that was written and directed by B.J. Novak of Office fame, is a story about a New York podcaster who is investigating crime in Texas. And it's really about the difference between the kind of New York mentality of the way things are and the Texas mentality of the way things are. And it takes a turn at the end that is like, when it happened, I was like, because it was like really good up till that point. But then it understands that they drove the car off the road. But based on the writing of the end of the movie, that car clearly had a parachute and landed perfectly. So it was like, oh, awesome. Good job. Good idea doing that. And then the last one is probably my strongest recommend, which is the movie I'm Totally Fine. It comes out of the workaholics writing world, with also people from the What We Do in Shadows writing world, but it is not similar to either of those in tone at all. There are like 6 actors in the movie. It is a showcase for Jillian Bell, who was in Workaholics, and for Natalie Morales, who is amazing. And the concept of it is that Natalie Morales and Jillian Bell are partners of a soda company, like business partners. And then Natalie Morales dies. But it turns out that Jillian Bell is visited by an alien who takes the form of Natalie Morales so that she can do experiments on her as a human. And in exchange, she gets to spend an extra 48 hours with her dead best friend. And this is a methodology that's being used by this alien community to understand who humans are. And it is a beautiful, hilarious, and meaningful exploration of friendship and what friendship can mean, and how losing, and grief and loss, and how losing somebody can impact you in the most surprising of ways. And it's truly tremendous. Natalie Morales has a extremely charming "I am human" type of delivery throughout the entire movie because she's an alien. And I cannot recommend it enough. You can find it on any of it's in theaters now, but you can rent it for like $6.99. It's like an hour and a half of your time. It's wonderful.
What's it
So,
called again?
I'm Totally Fine.
I'm totally fine. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's really like, it was really enlightening to me. I've always thinking about like my friendships and relationships with people, and being a trans woman, like were my friendships like traditionally masculine when I was raised masculine, or have they always been kind of feminine? Because I deeply identified with this relationship, and I think that was because the writing was strong enough to make it be, or to represent truth of friendship, truth of deep, meaningful friendship, regardless of gender, regardless of identity. Because it was a friendship that was being captured that was meant to be like 30 years old. It's wonderful. And then Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows is in it for a hot minute. And Blake from Workaholics, who's always been the charming one of Workaholics, but gets the least work, is in it. So I loved it. So that's my spiel.
Awesome. Well, hey, this was fun. If you're listening to this podcast and you like it, you should subscribe to it. So hit that plus button or that follow button, wherever you're listening to it. You can find it on Apple and Spotify and Google and I don't know, all the other places you can find our podcast. And if you can't find it, let us know and we'll put it on there. And you should check out Curtis's blog, 12life.com. He's always got really good stuff on there. If you need your landscaping done, Gardens of the Galaxy.
Except both of my checks have been stolen.
Yeah, so Curtis really needs the money. So if you need your landscaping done, Gardens of the Galaxy, give him a call. Once again, my name is Daniel from Millie, Curtis, Allanah, the rest of the 12s, saying goodbye and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go